Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the WCA 2015 European Pro Qualifier. It's time for our final game of day one, and that's Heroes of the Storm. Introducing our first team, they're an up-and-comer. Give it up for Team Alternate Fancy. All right, now this next team, if you're familiar with eSports, they are almost a household name. Give it up for Fnatic. I'm going to be joined by the two team representatives. We have Lol from Fnatic and Blumby from Team Alternate Fancy. Blumby, let's start with you. A new name. A team I'm sure that you've been working hard in Heroes of the Storm, but tell us a little bit more about Team Alternate Fancy.
Well, we are a team consisting of 2 Polish, 2 German, and one... where are you from again? Danish. One Danish player, so yeah. Pretty confident we can perform well today, and I think we got this.
All right, welcome to the stage. Lol, Fnatic, this is a team that's been involved in esports for quite some time. Now you're playing Heroes of the Storm. Tell us a little bit more about your team.
Lots of roster changes recently, but right now we have our 2 Swedish guys, 1 French, 1 Swiss, and 1 Italian. We've been on the scene for a while, not all on the same team. We've been playing with this roster for like 2 weeks, but we have high expectations, so we'll see how it goes.
All right, best of luck. Gentlemen, please shake hands. Good luck and have fun. Let's start the match.
All right, everybody, welcome to the WCA Europe. We have Alternate Fancy versus Fnatic in our first match today, and those 2 teams are definitely going to give it their all. This is, of course, the seeding matches that we have here. And Techa, what do you expect from the series?
This series, I think, is going to be one of the more interesting ones. Like we said, we have Fnatic, who have a sort of roster-changed lineup that they are bringing to this, and Alternate Fancy coming in as an incredible performance in the qualifiers with some very interesting picks. So it's going to be a very exciting match.
For Alternate Fancy even played a Thrall during the qualifiers, which was absolutely amazing, and right now, of course, we want to see what exactly they are going to do on our first match today. It is a best-of-3 series that we are playing here. For Fnatic, we talked about the roster changes a bit. Na'Vi lost 2 of their players, or a player and a coach. They are now part of Fnatic, and this is, of course, going to be extremely interesting, since we're also going to see matches potentially between Fnatic and, of course, Na'Vi during this tournament. So there's a bit of a rivalry going on right now.
Yeah, a bit of a rivalry indeed. It's very exciting. Although we've been watching the teams in the player area before, they all seem to get along really, really well. And we've mentioned 3 of our 4 teams so far. There is one more here, and it is Team Liquid.
So this tournament is going to be the best in Europe that are currently playing here. It's going to be super exciting, and the first map that we have today is already a pretty intense pick. We have Haunted Mines, and Haunted Mines is a map that is very different from all the other maps or battlegrounds that we have in the pool, since it is a very aggressive map and also one that is known to snowball quite a bit occasionally.
Yeah, like currently the Haunted Mines does hold the record for the shortest Heroes game of all time, so sometimes it can be a bit snowbally, but a long time ago underwent some pretty interesting rechanges, and since then we haven't had a 4-minute game on it in quite a while.
The thing is that in Haunted Mines especially, you have to go for very aggressive drafts. Usually what happens is that in the early stages of the game, the teams are trying to get as much of the objectives, skulls in the mines there, as they possibly can. So having a very aggressive setup is what both of them are going to try and draft here. The one thing is that Alternate Fancy is also known to be a very, very aggressive team per se, but another cool factor is that Fnatic has been willing to use this map several times in the past, not because they think that other teams, or not because they think that they are especially good on the map, but because they think that other teams are less prepared.
Yeah, this is true and is very interesting. Currently, we are just waiting for the draft to start, and we have a quick look here at some of the players we have here. We just saw Breeze, one of the players who, like we said before, was on Na'Vi and has now switched over to Fnatic.
One of the cool things is actually that Breeze is 16 years old. He's one of the Swedish players that just joined Fnatic, and he will move to the Polish house that they have, the team house, and going to be playing there. So that's already pretty exciting for a 16-year-old, I have to say. Like if my mom, if I would have told my mom at 16 that I planned on moving to Poland and live in a team house for a year, she would probably have like locked the door, and that would have, yeah. So he has a lot of support there, which is going to be pretty cool, but it's really going to be interesting how they play. They also had a change in roles on 2 of their players in the recent past.
This is true. Since the new players joining, for example, Maina was originally brought on to play the role of the ranged assassin. That has since been switched around in an interesting way.
Yeah, exactly. We have Wubi now also as a coach. He was a coach before. Now he switched into the player role, which is actually something that a lot of people have even been demanding. He was a player before, switched to the coach role because he said, well, I don't have the time anymore to really be a player there. Recently changed his mind again, and that is something that a lot of people in the scene welcome, because they said that he is so good that he's basically a bit of a waste as a coach, that he should really make it happen as a player. He's also the shot caller for the team, or one of them, and therefore we are seeing him now in a bit of a different role for the team, since as a supporter role, it's not usually the position where you shot call a lot.
Yeah, indeed. And right now on screen we can see the team of Alternate Fancy. It is well, now it is gone. But yeah, they have some very interesting players as well. Like we said, we did see them play the Thrall in the qualifier as a counter to Illidan. So that was very, very cool to see.
Yeah, on the other hand, Alternate Fancy, they've been playing quite some time, and they've been playing together quite some time, and in this case, actually, we're going to find out what exactly they are going to try and draft today. They were known for the longest time to go for an early sniper comp, trying to play heroes like Muradin and Tyrande together and really take out heroes in the early stage of the game, establish a leading advantage. But since then, we had a bit of a change with the recent patch coming into play, giving cleanse to nearly all of the heroes that we are seeing in the lineup as supporters, and therefore it's one of those situations where you will not be as successful anymore with such a sniper composition, since cleanse is a great tool to work against that.
This is very true. So now we can see Fnatic. Just like to let you guys know, there will be a quick delay on the game starting. We're just sorting out a little bit of a PC problem. We'll be ready as soon as possible. But right now, like we said, we can see that full Fnatic lineup. We have Kessel, Lol, Maina, Wubby, and Breeze. So a pretty stellar lineup. I believe when we first saw this lineup, we were like, okay, yeah, this lineup is pretty stacked.
Yeah, it definitely is. And they also said that this is a lineup that is really dedicated to attack Team Liquid. Team Liquid has been dominant in the European scene for a long, long time, and Fnatic was trying to just like draft a lineup together that can really attack Team Liquid, which is going to be one of the main objectives. And of course, Team Liquid also here at the tournament is one of the huge favorites. They've basically won every single tournament where we've seen them offline so far, and it's going to be pretty interesting to see if they can do that again, or if maybe Fnatic or Na'Vi is going to attack them here. We could even see the underdog, Alternate, being able to finish out the tournament victory.
Yeah, this is very true, and like you said, they are the tournament underdogs, as this is, I believe, their first offline event. Fnatic are bringing in a player whose first offline event is as well, Maina, coming in as one of the new players and has not played an offline event yet.
It was actually kind of funny. We went out to dinner with the guys yesterday, and especially Maina said that he is pretty curious of how exactly it's going to work. It's the first offline event for him, so he was a bit nervous. At least he was yesterday. I think today he's fine. They arrived very early at the location. They spent the entire day here, which is practicing. We're making sure that they warmed up, got a few of scrims in as well, and are of course now prepared to play here on stage. But it's kind of interesting to see that a lot of these players are really new to esports and are currently trying to adjust now. It's always a big deal if you're playing on an offline stage. You're not really in that safe environment anymore that you have at home, where you can just like simply move into the kitchen, get yourself a drink. So it's very, very different, especially when you play on stage. But even if you play off stage one of those matches, then you have to consider all these factors, of course, as well. So nerves definitely going to play a role here. On the case of Fnatic, we had most of the players already in offline tournaments, especially when it comes to teams that we're going to see tomorrow, like Na'Vi and Team Liquid. They've already played at several, so they should be adjusted by now, but every single tournament is completely different. And now that we are at a convention here, especially tomorrow, we're going to have a ton of people watching.
Yeah, it is like you said, completely different to play in front of a crowd as it is to play from your home. So much more pressure on every single game. Every single thing you do is scrutinized. And that's something that they really need to keep in mind. And we have had issues with players from some teams in the past, maybe not feeling the most confident. So, like I said, we're just waiting for the PC to be fixed at the moment, and then we're going to get into the game as soon as possible.
Yeah, we're going to jump to a quick break, and once we're back, we had some sound issues apparently. We're going to try and figure all of that out. We're going to go to a quick break, and once we're back, we're going to start our first map here, which is going to be the Haunted Mines here in Heroes of the Storm. Welcome back, everybody, to the WCA Europe. We are going to start with our first game in Heroes of the Storm here. We have Fnatic going up against Alternate Fancy, and map number 1 is going to be Haunted Mines. A pretty exciting map, as we already mentioned, a very fast-paced map, first of all. Both of the teams playing the first game here at Gamescom today, and it's going to be pretty cool. It's, of course, seeding matches that they're playing for. We have the main tournament then at the end of the week, but now all 4 of the teams are going to try over the next few days to really get the best seed for those brackets. The draft is live, and we're going to jump right into it, as you can see here, with Haunted Mines, and we have for Fnatic first pick and first ban.
Yep, and it's going to be quite interesting, because like we said, this isn't a map that we see too often. Like we said, we've seen it a couple times every now and again. Currently, actually, more often than the Garden of Terror, we've seen it.
And a Jaina ban for Fnatic. They've already been talking quite a lot about what heroes they want to ban and pick, and in this case, Jaina is one of the heroes that you oftentimes see. But of course, once again, this is a very different map from all the others here. Usually, you would see a Zeratul ban coming up next, but Alternate Fancy in this case bans out Illidan because they know that Fnatic has a very, very good Illidan player with LoL, and also Fnatic just recently played this map against several other teams, and one of the heroes that they constantly used was Illidan. So they go for the melee assassin here, and Fnatic can now go and pick one of the early strong heroes here. Zagara would be a pick that we are probably going to expect somehow in this draft, but they start things off with a Uther, which gives them an opportunity to even go into a Kerrigan then later on in the draft.
Yeah, and I was just about to mention the Kerrigan. This is a hero that they did play in one of their qualifier matches on this exact map. She is very, very strong. However, it will not be not likely be LoL, that star melee assassin player we were talking about earlier playing it. It will in fact likely be Wubby, as we saw the last time, and it was very devastating when they did it the last time.
Yeah, they played Kerrigan also again against another team when they were playing against a very heavy melee composition that Gamers 2 was drafting against them. So it's definitely something that Alternate knows now as well. So they have an opportunity to maybe ban out Kerrigan later on, which is actually, well, would be a good start for them. As expected, Zagara early in the draft. Zagara is just a great specialist hero that can not only push but also has a lot of control and even damage in the early stage of the game, so a very good pick here for Team Alternate. And they now have to think about a potential pick on a healer or not, because if they don't pick a healer here, they could end up in a situation where Fnatic decides to go into a double healer and forces them into a Lily or a Brightwing by banning out a third healer.
That is absolutely an option. And you mentioned how strong Zagara is early on, especially in the whole pushing aspect. A very strong push hero, and this is only a 2-lane map, so you can absolutely just focus on split pushing one of those lanes and get a huge amount of damage early on before the enemy team has something to react and before an objective has even spawned.
One of the things that Alternate Fancy has been very successful with in the past, which they could also play here, is as a tank role a Muradin. We have really good tanks these days, especially when you're going up against an Uther. It's likely that you're trying to pick an Anubarak. So if Alternate Fancy wants to do that, they also have to do it now. So they're in a really tricky situation where like a lot of choices are available to them, but Fnatic could try and abuse every single one of them. And Fancy decides, instead of going into the Anubarak, to go into that healer that we've talked about. So for Fnatic, it's now an option to ban out an Anubarak against Fancy, and that means that Alternate Fancy won't be able to do anything against the Divine Shield that Uther is able to provide.
Exactly, and that is exactly what Anubarak is used for, web blasting out that Uther to prevent the Divine Shield. Fnatic starting off with the Arthur's pick as their main tank, and been seeing Breeze run this quite a bit. He's very strong.
The cool thing about Arthur's also is that he works very well with Kerrigan. First of all, Kerrigan leaps in, gets a combo off, and starts just stunning heroes. Arthur's moves in with a Howling Blast, locks them down even further, and you have a lot of targets that you can annihilate right at the beginning. Arthur's a really good hero for that. He's also very good against Zagara's creep tumors on the map, so that Zagara is not able to provide too much control for the opponent's team. So a very strong pick for Fnatic. And now, of course, they have to think about their ranged assassins as well. Are they going to go into some range damage? Vala is very good early on this map. We have a Sylvanas, which can be strong as well. But they go for the Kerrigan so that he can't get banned out. Very early commitment here by Fnatic to go into the Kerrigan. Pretty awesome pick here by them. And that definitely shows a lot of confidence picking her this early in the draft.
Yeah, that is a hell of a lot of dedication from them on getting that incredibly powerful gank squad and that incredibly powerful pick squad that they want to do. And of course, the very first pick from Alternate Fancy is going to be the target in the Zagara, who, as herself until level 10, has no escape, and even level 10 has to use one of her main teamfight abilities as an escape.
Especially after Fnatic started to pick Arthur's, Fancy already said, alright, we're going to ban our Kerrigan. We're definitely going to ban our Kerrigan. No matter what they take now, we're going to ban her, but they can't. There's the Kerrigan. Fnatic picks her. Fancy instead goes for a ban on Leoric, which we've seen but just to be very, very strong. On this map in particular, then he respawns in the mines if you're getting taken out there. Fnatic now with a choice of a ban, and right now they're in a really good position. They could try and target a ban against the healer, but they don't really have to. They have all the options here. They could, for example, ban out one of the tanks. Nubarak is something that we mentioned several times right now, and especially with the Karrigan-Uther combination, that would be my first choice here. Nubarak just seems like the perfect hero to ban out for them.
I would 100% agree. The Nubarak would be incredible for the ban just to prevent it removing that Divine Shield. The other ban, if they are going to go in bans in the form of Warriors, maybe the Muradin, just prevent him getting that reverberation down onto the Kerrigan and slowing down her attack speed. Muting her a little, she can still throw out her abilities pretty quickly, but slowing down the auto attack just may give Zagara that short amount of time to escape, and they ban neither.
Wow, they ban a Vala in this case now. Vala, of course, a very good hero when it comes down to the early game, especially also the late game though. She has push on the lane, she has also a very strong attack, auto attack, can go into an arrow build here. Didn't really expect the Vala to be banned out in this case. It's a strong hero for sure, but now Alternate Fancy have a lot of good picks on their hands. They could go into the Nubarak, and they definitely should. I'm a bit surprised that Fnatic lets him go through the draft.
Yeah, and there's also the fact that Fnatic have still yet to pick any kind of ranged assassin themselves, and they still ban one out, further limiting their own options, and Fancy can easily go double ranged and limit their options even further.
Another hero that we still have on the map that we haven't seen yet picked, and usually he is being played, is Zeratul. You can definitely make some plays with him, but one of the reasons that Zeratul is sometimes a bit weaker in the early stages of the game is that you oftentimes go for that build where you try to get the wormhole in that allows him to just jump in and poke a bit. Alternate in this case is already committing to a Nazebo, which is throughout the entire match quite strong thanks to those spiders. He gets a bit of a spike on level 16, as most heroes do, thanks to the leaping spider talent, but especially in the early game he has a lot of good push that he can utilize here. And Alternate Fancy, they can still pick a tank here, and it could be the Nubarak that we've been talking about, but there's also other options like a Johanna.
Yeah, Johanna, Muradin, and a Nubarak, the most likely choices here, although there is a hero, but they don't have too much burst follow-up, so that's slightly, and there is the Anubarak. Yeah. We were calling it for quite a while, finally coming out for Ultimate Fancy. Yeah, I'm not surprised to see the Anubarak here. I really thought that Fnatic would ban him out, but apparently they're not really afraid to keep their Karrigan alive, even with the Web Blast being available to Alternate Fancy. It's going to create a really cool dynamic in those fights, because we will see Uther trying to shield Karrigan as much as they can, but Alternate Fancy will have the approach where they try to just perfectly time an approach against Karrigan with the Web Blast against Uther, which would allow them to drop the hero. And Fnatic, of course, they know that too. They expected the Anubarak here, and I'm really curious to see how they're going to counterplay it. Yeah, so it is going to be very interesting. They do still need at least some form of range damage, and there's a couple options left. For example, the Kael'thas, although it's a bit harder to make it to the late game. Sometimes on this map, like we said, games can end very early, and Kael'thas is very much a late game hero. It is definitely possible on this map though. One of the things that Fnatic sometimes does is focus heavily on the melee heroes, and they've several times in the past played either single warrior, double melee assassin, or double melee assassin, single warrior. Did I just say the same thing twice? I think so. But we could definitely see another warrior here for them, because that is a style that they really like on smaller maps, and I feel if they do, then a commitment to Muradin would be an option. They could all, and there it is. Yeah, they love their melee. They're going full into your face with currently 4 melees if you include the Uther. I'm liking this. Like, as I said, like they really like stuff like this, and if you have that Uther in there, that Uther and the Muradin, first of all, Uther is going to usually trigger the Web Blast of a Nubarak, and Muradin can still keep Karrigan alive. He can help out with the reverberation, even like a double stun with a piercing bolt on level 7 will help to keep Karrigan safer just a tiny bit. Then you have the Arthas who slows the onslaught down, and in the meantime Karrigan can just do her thing. That's a lot of stun and lockdown that we have on the team. Fnatic is now in a position, I mean, theoretically, if they expect the Web Blast on a Nubarak, they could even say, alright, we're not going into Divine Shield, we're just going into an additional stun with a Divine Storm. It would be not what you expect in this case, because that Divine Shield is just such a good control for Karrigan, but still, if you have a full stun team,
then that additional Divine Storm might just be the one thing that they need to drop the entire team of the opponent.
Yep, especially with Team Alternate Fancy. 3 out of their 4 current heroes does not have an escape, and Fnatic adding another stun to their lineup in the form of the Kale Pass.
The gravity lapse is going to be an issue in these fights, and there is the second warrior also for Team Alternate Fancy. They go into a Johanna. Johanna is great on maps like this because she has also a lot of lane push. She can move in, and with Night Take Spawn on her Condemn, she can really just start to do a lot of damage here. And this is going to be a super interesting play now, because on the first time we are seeing Kalthas, and Kalthas is not really the hero that you oftentimes see on Haunted Mines, at least not in the earlier picks. He was the last pick for Fnatic, but one of the reasons why he's not as popular on Haunted Mines as he is on other maps is that he hits his power spike on level 16, and for Haunted Mines this is very late into the game.
Yep, it is definitely possible to hit level 16, but by that point you're going for a game-ending play, but that can be exactly what you get with Kale Pass. If you get to level 16, just as the mines open, you can catch a load of people, get your full damage off, and that can, well, just end the game right there. And there's the fact that he obviously adds into that incredibly early pick comp that they have. Every single one of their members has a stun except for Arthas, who comes with a root and a slow.
And the cool thing for them really is that all of the heroes that they have work very well together in the early stages of the game, where they can get a huge amount of damage also in with those warriors. But then in the later stages of the game, they suddenly have someone who can carry them even there, and that is very, very strong for them now. It's a very aggressive lineup, and it's a very dangerous lineup that Fnatic has on the first map here. And Haunted Mines is going to be, of course, the start into the best of 3 series. So you're going to set the pace for your team, and in this case now, Alternate Fancy, they will have a pretty tough time. They have a good lineup, but they need to be extremely careful in that first mines, because this is spelling trouble what Fnatic currently picked.
Yeah, if they get any of their members picked off, it's just going to be devastating for them, like we said, especially seeing as their 2 main damage dealers, well, currently have no way to get away from this really aggressive comp.
And now that the game starts, we have to the left side of the map Devis on Anubarak for Alternate Fancy. It is Darkmork for Nazebo. We have Crosby on Zagara, Krolu on Rhaegar, and Blumby on Johanna. Starting off to the right side, it is Fnatic with Breeze on Muradin. We have Lowell on the second tank, Arthas. Main is playing Uther, and as predicted, Wooby jumped onto Kerrigan as Kesil is playing Kalthas here in the game. So ladies and gentlemen, we're going to kick this off here at the WCA Europe. I'm Kaldar, with me is Tetch, and we're going to bring you game number 1 on Haunted Mines.
And having a look at some of the notable talents just as we are starting the game, we see a Beetle build starting off for Anubarak, just getting out that extra damage and extra pushing power. Zagara yet to pick her level 1 talent. Rhaegar with the Colossal Totem increase that radius so you can get a larger slow, which is nice against Kerrigan, who's trying to chase and hunt you down. And the Hunter's Pursuit as opposed to the Reach on the Uther.
Yeah, no reach for Uther here, and with Kerrigan, she can jump in, so some players would have definitely gone for a longer range on him, but instead he just decided to go into the Conjurer's Pursuit. It's actually not a very popular talent on Haunted Mines, since you are heavily relying on those health globes, and oftentimes on Haunted Mines you're not able to get as many as on other maps, like for example Tomb of the Spider Queen. But especially that Reverberation that you already touched upon, Thatcher, is going to be extremely important to help Kerrigan out once she gets focused. Zagara making a commitment now on level 1, going for Reconstitution, which is the standard talent, as Breeze seems to have some issues here, unfortunately, and is immediately pausing the game.
Yep, and you mentioned Reconstitution being the standard talent, but we have seen a load of people take different talents, especially on this map, for example, a lot of people taking the increased health on the Roaches, the Infested Drop, which can really make a difference in terms of pushing power in the early game, which is pretty awesome if you, on this map with, like you said, 2 lanes, if you can get that amount of push in your Golem lane, then the enemy team's really going to struggle.
One of the things that we're also going to see now is with Kerrigan going for that Primal Grasp. If you really want to get that stun combo off, the more heroes are at the front line, the better for you. You can jump in and you can really use that range that you have, or that range with that level 1 talent, to just take these heroes down. We have a Johanna together with an Anubarak, and also, of course, the Rhaegar, who will be very far out. So Kerrigan should not really have an opportunity to jump on Zagara and on Nazebo, unless of course she flanks or is somehow able to catch them in the mines. But in those 5 versus 5 battles then later on, it's more like the tank line that she's going to be able to spam out. And the thing is, if she gets her comp off, everybody is just going to be in a perfect position for Kalthas to land his Flame Strike.
Exactly. It's basically in a similar style to how you would run a Johanna, where you pull everyone into a single point and get your Flame Strike off, which is pretty fantastic. Instead, we're just using the Kerrigan, which is a bit of a smaller radius, but you're pulling them into an immediate stun, as opposed to just a single area around your main tank.
And right now, as the game, thankfully the problem, the technical issue just occurred as the game started. So apparently there was not a problem with the PC. I apologize for the inconvenience. We're going to head into a quick break, and as soon as the player is ready again, we're going to jump into the map immediately. So guys, after a few minutes, we'll be back with game number 1 here between Alternate Fancy and Fnatic at the WCA Euro Qualifier. All right, everybody, we're back in the game. Sorry for the delays. Now everything is sorted out. The PCs are ready, and we are good to go. The WCA, the first map, Haunted Mines Fnatic versus Alternate Fancy. And down here to the bottom lane, we already have Breeze as the solo tank on this lane, going up against 3 against Dartmok on a Zebo, Crossburn, Zagara, and Rega here. Not an easy lane for him.
Yep, double specialist. He is going to get pushed very, very hard. But he should be fine, right? Because he does have a roaming gank squad to maybe pick off 1 or 2 of them later.
They're going to be trying to maintain tower vision here. Lowell is just dancing on that watchtower. Bloomby is trying to get it. They don't really know where the opponents are. And up at the top lane, Devis might also be the victim as Vubi and Lowell are getting ready. Devis has to move away, but they show themselves and therefore no harm done.
Yep, Devis playing very, very safely. He did have his Burrow charge just in case, and is able to get out very quickly. And right now, Alternate Fancy, they have immediately lost vision of the gank squad back way up. They do not want to get caught.
And everybody rotating down to the bot lane on the side of Alternate Fancy. Once again, they're trying to get a creep wave down. The mines are open. They could go for it. We have also now Devis on his Anubarak starting to move in. Everybody's going to the mines. Nobody's stunned out. Great move on the side of Alternate, but they did not get the kill, and now Fnatic is first in the mines.
Yeah, but Alternate Fancy being very hesitant, they do wait to go in the mines and as such do not get caught out, immediately splitting up for the smaller camps as opposed to going to fight Fnatic in the middle, as Johanna is not yet in the mines because she went to the top lane to soak.
And the team that reaches level 10 or level 4 first in the first mine phase is usually the one that will also get quite a lot of skulls, and that's exactly why Bloom is up here at the top. They're already fighting down to the bot lane. There's Zebo getting ganked, and that's a big, big issue now for Alternate Fancy. They reached level 4 first, but they couldn't capitalize on it because they lost one of their heroes.
Yeah, Johanna will sneak a couple camps here. She does have her trait, which will make her immune to stuns, and as such, one of the only people who can actually get out of a situation like this. Krolu did steal some skulls and is now trying to get away.
And nobody realized that he was still there, so Krolu is actually able to get away. It's also interesting, of course, once again to see that he went on level 4 for Feral Heart. It's going to give him better sustain. Moves back into the mines. That was an interesting move, since everybody of Fnatic is trying to just like move in from the back, and here they are. Wubi jumps in, tries to get the combo up on Carrigan. Crosby moves away, gets stunned by Mena though, but Devis is already here to help out his teammate.
Devis does get embedded though and does have to back away. Lowell taking a bit of harassment from Crosby. No deaths yet other than the early kill from Fnatic, but no one died in that particular engagement.
We have already on level 4 now Destruction taken for Arthur's, more damage for the Warrior. The Boundless Conviction for Uther here on their side. And it's the Netherwind, of course, on Kaltha, since they want to add an additional stun to the ones that the Warriors and melee assassins can already provide in these battles.
Yeah, more stun equals more fun, especially for Fnatic here. Bloomby just chilling with Breeze up here in the top lane. Arthur's though is waiting.
Yeah, Arthur's is still waiting, trying to lock Bloomby down. We have a slight advantage in experience currently from them. Here he comes. Where's the stun trade? Not already used. He's trying to move away there, but there's the Howling Blast. Good lockdown. He's trying to use this one time. Breeze with an attempted stun, but Bloomby gets away. Breeze is very low now too, but his trade is going to kick in very soon to bring him back to full health.
Yeah, Breeze was trying to body block there, but was taking too many tower hits, and like you said, wasn't able to land his stun, so did have to back away from that particular engagement. This is what Fnatic are trying to do. Just catch anyone, and that's all they need to keep doing to get their advantage.
We still don't have that golem taken down in the bot lane, by the way, so there's still a lot of skulls that both of the teams can get. It's a pretty even split so far, 32 to 38, and an early take on the Siege Giant camps by Fnatic. Usually you try and tighten that with your opponent's golem so that it can help you defend against this, but Fnatic is not doing this. They are currently at the bot lane trying to create some pressure at the bottom lane to get the skulls here in the mines now.
Yeah, and this, if they do get all these skulls, and it looks like they definitely will, it is fine for them to take their Siege Giants. Yes, their bot lane's going to push, but with their stun heavy comp, they will want to push with their golem and try and catch someone out using the golem for zoning.
We have Alternate committing to the mines now with 2 of their heroes, Rega and then Zebo now as well, and Johanna on the way, the skulls taken. Alternate Fancy is trying to pick 1 or 2 heroes off. That's blind already on Lowell, he's trying to get away. Breeze with a good stun, but there's 4 against 2 now. They are going to sacrifice Lowell, or are they? Fnatic is turning around, but Lowell is already dead.
Breeze does get knocked up here, uses his Dwarf Toss to get out here. The Uther heal does not land, but Breeze able to stun, drops his slow, and with the mark on the ground will slow down a lot of his pursuers. Will he escape? Yes, he will. out of there completely fine.
No mule chosen on this map now. We had one potential mule on the side of Nazebo, so he could have gone for it, but he decided against it. He doesn't want to sacrifice that extra damage that Gitbin will effectively give him. And move into the mid lane by Fnatic. They're trying to get the Bruiser camp now, as we're seeing Alternate busy at the left side to take their own Siege Giants.
Yeah, and they will time these Siege Giants a bit better than Fnatic did, but like we said, Fnatic were just putting on pressure while they did grab skulls. They got them quite a bit bigger, so they will go aggressive. We can see them immediately moving into the alternate jungle.
Yeah, and already down to the bot lane, the Golem is moving in. Breeze is trying to defend. Everybody else wrapping around, trying to intercept these Siege Giants. Really nice play on the side of Fnatic. They burst them down, and with such a simple move, they already made sure that the Golem that they have can do a maximum amount of damage, and the opponent's Siege Giants won't help with the defense.
We have 4 members of Alternate here defending, 4 members of Fnatic are attacking, and Fnatic are going to want to try and pick someone off here. Like I said, that Golem can make some amazing zoning.
The gate is already gone, and now we're going straight for the well. That could be a potential fort if they commit to it, but are they though? Here comes already the Howling Blast, immediately the Flame Strike, Condemn used by Johanna. Everybody's still alive in it. It's a 5 versus 4 defense at the bot lane. Muradin is still trying to take down Golem, and they're not going to lose anything here.
Yeah, Fort does run out of ammo and goes down to just under half health, but like you said, Breeze able to completely clear that up.
We have on the side of Alternate Fancy now a double Babel momentum taken on level 7, and with that they will be able to get, especially for Johanna, those extra condemns out in the team fights. A very important talent to take. Muradin, of course, went into the Piercing Bolt so that he can hit 2 targets now with a Storm Bolt. Going to be extremely important, especially in those mine fights. And of course, the most important thing of all is going to be that upcoming level 10.
Yep, and at the moment it will be hit by Fnatic first. So we will see if Uther does in fact go with the Divine Shield to protect Wubby, or if he's going to go with the Divine Storm to just add to their already pretty stellar stun lineup, but it is the Divine Shield.
Oftentimes when you see the opponent go into, well, if you don't have that Divine Shield available, then you will see Kerrigan not going into the Maelstrom, but into the Ultralisk. In this case, it could have been also a Divine Storm for Uther, for a simple reason. We're seeing Web Blast for Nubarak, and that is a direct counterplay to the Divine Shield. So Fnatic could have argued that it's better to rely on the extra stun with the Storm, because they expect Uther to be locked down in these fights with the Web Blast anyways. Interesting is also Syndragosa, the heroic ability on Arthas.
Yep, gets rid of a bit of survivability, which I would say is more than made up for in the fact that they are running the Muradin, and instead gives them another engage ability and an incredible push ability as Syndragosa does disable buildings.
The mines are going to open up soon again once as well. We have the Blessed Shield, more Ancestral Healing, Gary the Gargantuan taken on the left side as the heroic abilities. And this is going to be a pretty intense team fight that is going to happen very soon. The mines are opening up once more, and Alternate Fancy is pushing Fnatic back and have now the opportunity to move into the mines first in just a few seconds, and there it is.
Yeah, top lane almost completely neglected here as Alternate Fancy was able to push the bot lane. Fnatic, not wanting to go in and maybe get themselves caught in a Devouring Maw, are all heading their way up to the top lane, but Alternate Fancy are already here, and they want to try and trap them on the way in, and in comes Fnatic. Lol, no one gets moored, in fact, and in comes the rest of Fnatic. The zombie ball lands with quite a few members. Wobby gets web blasted straight away.
Already the Phoenix on the ground, and the attack against Arthas. He moves away. Lowell's trying to escape, but he's already dead. And in comes Wobby trying to go for the side, but he misses his combo. At the same time, Zagara is in trouble. Breeze going deep for the kill, and he gets it. He takes Zagara down.
Mena is in the back here as well, gets the stun onto the Zebo, and they're able to pick him off. Wubby getting focused down, does not land his stun, but he's trying to micro away, gets the pull in. Mena is healed, gets the heal. And Breeze and Kessel in the background trying to take down Krolu, but in his dog form, he is too fast.
At the same time, once again, the commitment against Uther. They're trying to move in the 2 tanks, but here comes the kill against Uther. Nice move here by Krolu. They get another one. It's a 2-4-1 in this situation. Very well played here. In terms of skulls, we have both teams now committing immediately. Casey moves back into the mines, drops another Phoenix. The stun against the Nubarak. Davis is so low, but Ifaro charges away.
Yeah, there was a living bomb on him, and now we see Blumby coming into the outside. Low, trying to take out Devis here. The brute does not land, but in comes Breeze, trying to finish him off, and they're able to take down Devis.
They get the kill, but up here at the entrance, it's Kerrigan in trouble. She's being attacked there once again. Gary, where's that heal? Wubby goes down, gets dropped by the roaches. Crosby on Zagara with a beautiful move here. 4 kills against 4, and still the fight is ongoing. Kesel moves back down. Trollo is all alone for a second. He's getting locked down, but Kesel drops first.
Kesel was focused down by the Hunter Killer. Here we see Breeze using his Dwarf Toss to try to escape. He does have Maiden with him. Zombie Wall does not land. And with 3 members of Fnatic grouped up here, they will leave the mines and will likely be able to get themselves to freedom. But out comes a couple members of Alternate Fancy, maybe trying to see what they can get. Instead, it will just be Blumby zoning them out of the mines.
Alternate Fancy with really great moves here. Fnatic as well, 5 kills versus 4 at the top lane. We have again Devis starting to gather more experience for his team, and it is Alternate Fancy in the mines who are going to take the boss here.
And this will mean that their second golem of the game will be a lot stronger than Fnatic's. And with that fort in the bottom lane being only just under half health, Alternate Fancy are going to be able to get a lot of damage out of this.
And we already have level 13 talents coming into play with a healing surge on Rhaegar. We have the sprint for Nazeebo up here at the top. Kaysel might be in a bit of trouble. He's trying to escape. He gets followed, but he's going to be able to get away here if he wants to. At the same time, down the mines, Frollo is in a lot of trouble. Ancestral heals himself, but there's a 4 versus 1, and he is taken out.
All aboard the stun train, and Rhaegar is the only passenger in this case. Gets taken down. Alternate Fancy just getting ready to take their Siege Giants here for the defense so that they can put a lot of effort into pushing that bottom lane.
Both of the teams now with the level 13 talents. We're seeing the Mutalisk on the side of Zagara. Also a sprint not only for Kerrigan but also for Nazeebo, of course, for the repositioning during the fights. We have Flamethrower now for Kel'Thas for the extra range, and for Johanna it is the extra damage thanks to the Burning Rage.
Yeah, and that extra damage is absolutely lovely, as Johanna will be right in there, as she's very, very hard to kill. So her being just completely next to our opponent's entire game is really nice.
Main up at top lane with the rest of the team. They're trying to go for a push here. The Siege Giants are once again there, but of course we see to the bottom lane. Alternate Fancy doing exactly the same thing. They have the level 65 golem or 65 skulls. That means that they are going to try and push hard. The rule of thumb is to always push with a stronger golem, since you will be able to push harder. But we still have also Syndragosa, and it's being used. It's being used at the top lane. Fnatic tries to outpush Alternate Fancy despite them having the weaker golem. They go through the wall. Wooby already TP's back though, and Kaysel does as well. They're trying to stop the opponent. It's going to be a keep for a keeper. Can they save the core?
The golem is still incredibly strong here, and finally we're seeing the rest of Fnatic be back. The web blast has already been used onto Uther there. Oh no, it wasn't onto Uther, it wasn't to Kerrigan, who immediately pops out and gets stunned up in a blessed shield.
And they jump in, trying to lock a target down up at the top lane. Still a keep about to be demolished. That golem should be able to finish it off. So Fnatic for now is still in a decent position, but they have to defend against the golem first. In the last fight in particular, we saw a bit of miscommunication. Maw and Web Blast going down on the same target.
Yeah, and that is not ideal at all. Fnatic will finally be able to clear up this golem before their core takes any damage beyond its shield. So they are still on even footing with Alternate Fancy here. And in fact do have an XP advantage, but only a little one.
Yeah, it's a slight one, but it's there, and both of the teams dropped one of the keeps already, which is of course crucial here in Heroes of the Storm. Up at the top, this golem is not going to do too much. Level 16 talents are going to come into play in just a bit here. We have Relentless taken on Arthas, and I don't really blame him. I mean, there's a lot of disables that we're seeing on the opponent's hand. So for now, it's a 16 talents, and they drop for both of the teams at the same time.
Yep, Nazeebo going for the classic spiders, and we did see the Colossal Totem on Rhaegar. He is going to benefit that with the Earth Grasp.
I really like that talent, by the way, because we have such a melee-focused lineup on the side of Fnatic that I can totally understand that they're trying to sacrifice the tidal waves at level 16 for the totem here, because that's going to give them a lot of synergy. With such a melee-heavy setup, it makes a lot of sense, I feel.
It does indeed, and we have the Brood expansion for Zagara, the extra damage Stone Form on the Muradin, and Stone Skin on the Arthas. Just huge tankiness coming out of the Fnatic tank.
And of course, Ignite has been picked for Kel'Thas. His power spike is finally there. All that damage that he gets through those bombs is going to be incredibly important for them. The mines already started. Again, the attempt to trap them. They're trying to trap them at the top entrance, and how is Fnatic going to react to that? It looks like they might even... Are they going to think about a potential backdoor? Yes. They are.
Yeah, they're showing themselves at the watchtower, though. They're going to take this, and the question is how will Alternate react to this? And they react by coming out of the mine.
Alternate, upon the watchtower being taken, they immediately say, like, okay, forget it. We're going to go and try and defend our core if need be. Their stun comp already hitting hard, though. Once again, Fnatic moving in. Syndragosa on the move. Maw and Weapon at the same time. Trying to section of heroes. Kerrigan in trouble. Kerrigan is dead, and they go straight for Kel'Thas.
Kel'Thas backing up here. They're able to take down Johanna, who was waiting for a Numerang. Gets cleansed, but he is not able to survive. And now they're going across. There's the ruin, the flame strike, and Zagara goes down.
A triple kill for Fnatic. They move in again. They only lost Kerrigan so far, but Arthas is very low. They get the lockdown against Time Bomb. Nazeebo is gone.
Spiders are made of the spell shield, and he heals himself just in time.
The mines are open now, and both of the teams would like to commit, but in this case, it's only Fnatic. They go for the well. They even have the well at the top lane still. They heal up and go straight back into the mines, where we currently only see Breeze. He's already waiting, and there is nothing that Alternate Fancy can do right now.
Yeah, they are simply watching a grey screen and waiting for spawn timers. There are catapults from Fnatic in this lane as well. And Kerrigan, even just going to clear out this bot lane first by the looks of it.
Krolo is playing the lone wolf here, down at the bot lane, trying to get a few skulls at least, but Breeze finds him, is gonna stun him, the rest is trying to follow up, there's the gravity lapse, and Krolo is in trouble, the flame strike drops him! It's a 5 versus 4 once again, great pickup by Fnatic.
And that's going to make it incredibly hard for Alternate Fancy to enter the mines here. And in fact, looks like they're not going to. However, they have found Wubby, who is in full retreat. The knockup will not land, and Wubby can just jump to a minion to get himself out of range.
Yep, Wubby on the money pick here, and that was a really important escape. They cannot lose a hero now. 6 kills against 10. The boss is about to fall in the mines, and that would give additional skulls to Fnatic. If they get that big and massive golem, they could finish the game now. That's exactly what they're going to try. Level 17 versus level 18. This is going to be super important here and extremely close.
And we are seeing Fnatic retreat away from this golem right now because they do not have vision of Alternate Fancy, so they don't want to get caught fighting at the golem. When in fact, Alternate Fancy were just in their own jungle, just chilling. Fnatic just playing very cautiously, do not want to get caught out.
Yeah, but here comes Alternate Fancy, and we have already 74 skulls. I don't really think that they need to risk anything here. They can just move back, and they're currently doing exactly that. Or is it going to be a bit of a wraparound? We have Kerrigan moving in at the bot lane, but that's a bit of a problem.
Oh, that was close, and Kerrigan popping sprint will get out of there. But in the meantime, we do see the rest of Fnatic moving in. They get a couple more skulls. The Maw does land on 2 members. Syndra goes to slowing Wubby, and he gets taken down.
The Maw was good, but the focus damage was better, and down goes Johanna. They're trying to engage anyways. Here comes the web blast. Wall of zombies already in play. Breeze at the front there with the stone form is trying to keep himself alive as Vayne is coming back into the match. We have Bobby jumping in, going for the stun lock, going straight for the Zemo, and then Zemo is dead again.
And Kerrigan immediately turns onto Tagara, trying to take it down. Kendall from afar with the flame strike, doing huge damage, and now we're seeing the Anubrak focus down. He is gone. Krolu, once again, the last surviving member, but this time he's got an entire Fnatic lineup to dodge, and he's not going to do it.
Utter destruction by Fnatic. They take it. They have the boss already on core. Lowell is moving in on Arthurs. Everybody down on the side of Alternate Fancy. Great play so far by Fnatic. And there's the GG. Well played. Already dropped as Fnatic is going in for the kill here on Haunted Mines. The first map in our best of 3 series. A great match by Alternate Fancy. But Fnatic at this point just way too strong with 15 kills against 7.
Yeah, super well played by them, and the picks were huge. Lumpy, though, does come back. Gets the Sonic to low, but it doesn't matter even if he takes down both these people. The boss still has so much health and can just finish the game on his own. There is the GG. And well played by Fnatic. They take game number 1.
Really well played here. Fnatic with absolutely impressive performance. That Kerrigan, of course, a key element in that draft. And especially with Uther able to just Divine Shield her in those important fights, that was quite important. And Alternate Fancy, they actually did play it really well with the Red Blast that they had, but it just wasn't enough to control the heroes.
Yeah, the Web Blast was fairly on point most times, but it was used on the Kerrigan instead of the Uther a lot of times. So they weren't able to burst down the Uther when they wanted to. So instead, what happened is they web blasted the Kerrigan, went in, and didn't get the kill, and then Kerrigan pops out as just like, hey guys, I still have damage, and just wrecks everyone.
It was actually a real problem for them, or for Alternate Fancy, in the first fight with the Auric abilities when they were already on core with a stronger golem, that they missed just the timing or the communication with Maw and Web Blast. They both went for the same target here, and that just didn't give them anything. Maybe with a better coordination there, they could have been at least applied some damage to the core, which would have put additional pressure onto a Fnatic. But Fnatic moves into the mines again, and they have a very, very good team fight. Can get the additional skulls, and then here on Haunted Mines they just take lead. A very aggressive map, a very fast-paced map as well. 20 minutes that we now spend in here, and with 15 kills for Fnatic, especially that Kerrigan in the late game just slaughtered everybody. And it was really tricky for Alternate Fancy to just come back here. But of course, this is a bit of an extraordinary map, I want to say, and the next one is going to be the exact opposite.
Yeah, we had a bit of an extraordinary map, like you said, with the Haunted Mines. The Cursed Hollow, the most standard map for the longest time since Tentacle Alpha. This has been the go-to map if a team wants to play a standard composition in a standard game.
And guys, we'll be back in just a few minutes with our second map. The teams are currently preparing. We're going to be back with the draft in a minute or two, so guys, stay tuned, and then we'll be back with Fnatic versus Alternate Fancy here at the WCA Europe. Alright everybody, we are back to business with game number 2. Fnatic took the first map, they won on Haunted Mines, and therefore of course have now the lead in the best of 3 series. They need one more map, and the next map is going to be Cursed Hollow, which is one of the most standard maps that we have in the map pool currently, probably one of the most played battlegrounds that exists in the game.
Yeah, this is true. Like we said before the break, this map has been played so much since Technical Alpha. I'm pretty sure if you just added up the total games, you would see, like, what would you say second most picked map in tournaments? Like, I'd say probably Dragonshire, because it was played so much during Alpha and Beta.
Yeah, good point. Like in the beginning it was definitely Dragonshire that dominated. The Cursed Hollow is right up there. A very popular map now, and also more of a standard map compared to what we saw on the last map, which was of course then Haunted Mines. The teams are about to be ready so that we can jump into the draft, and it's going to be quite interesting how this one is going to deviate from the last one. So what we see on Haunted Mines there. This is going to be more standard. And we actually started off already with our first ban, and it is in this case an Uther that was banned out by Alternate Fancy, apparently fed up with those melee assassins screwing up their game and just saying, alright, we're going to take the support away. There's going to be no Divine Shield in this match.
Yeah, and we can actually see Fnatic's ban in this case, which is interesting.
Yeah?
Yeah. So we'll try and find out what that is for you as quick as possible. But it is Alternate Fancy with the first pick about to come in.
I actually am pretty sure that the draft link that we have to like switch that, because that seems to be like we are a bit outdated there. So yeah, the Uther, of course, already our first ban. I'm not quite sure if they're going to continue with this, but like the story basically is that here on Cursed Hollow we can expect a bit of a different draft from both of the teams. What's very important is that you have something to interrupt the tribute channels, which is one of the key elements here. So oftentimes you see a Jaina picked, if not banned out. Kalthas is very strong on this map as well. Nazebo, those are probably the 3 heroes that you have in terms of mage damage currently dominating the game, and all of them are very, very good at just poking from a distance, trying to apply some damage to the hero that is trying to channel the tribute. And another thing that you can really also use with them is that just that AoE that you have. The tributes usually spawn in very close quarters, so there are a lot of corridors that you can abuse with AoE damage, and that is something that we can expect expect from both of the teams to be used as much as possible during the game.
Yeah, and like you said, we will sometimes even see heroes going with deviated builds just to get that extra range harass to deny it. Like, for example, one of the key heroes who we've seen banned out a lot is Jaina, but when she's picked on this map, we will sometimes see her going for the extra range on her Frostbolt, so that she can deny tributes more efficiency, as opposed to the extra slow or the increased duration on her chill stack.
And now that we're actually in the particular draft, we have the Uther, of course, by now, as mentioned before. This is one of those countermeasures that you have to make sure that your opponent is not going into one of those melee assassins. So at least if he does, that he cannot completely turn into God mode with the Divine Shield. In the last match that happened with Kerrigan, Illidan is another very, very good hero to be supported by Divine Shield. Fnatic loves to play them. So the Uther ban not really coming as a surprise here.
Yeah, absolutely. It was incredibly hard for them to deal with. So banning it out makes a lot of sense.
One of the things that they could have done would pick the Uther first. This is something that you occasionally see. Alternate Fancy liked to do that during the qualifier for the offline phase of the tournament here. We're having a Zeratul banned out by Fnatic, which is very common, and Alternate Fancy could now immediately react with a potential Kerrigan. But Zagara is actually taking a very high priority for a lot of the teams too these days.
Yeah, Zagara is pretty good, and Kerrigan, like you said, still pretty strong, but you don't really see her too much on maps outside of the Haunted Mines, but she does make her way in now and again. However, another hero that is left open is the Illidan, but picking that without the burst healer, considering that the Uther with Divine Shield is already gone, would be very risky.
At this point, Fnatic probably going to pick a Jaina. We have Zagara already taken. As I said, she's getting more and more popular. She is really good when it comes to lane control. It's one of the best solo laners in the game. Normally a response in this case would be for Fnatic to take Jaina, and then the only question for them is, what do we take together with her? And I feel with the ban on Uther, they are forced to go into a healer. So we are most likely going to see either the Malfurion or the Rhaegar for them picked after they take Jaina, which I still expect to be the damage dealer.
Yeah, I would agree. Definitely seems to be a very safe pick for them. And like you said, it's the healer that they pick here, if they do pick one here, it's going to be the Rhaegar, is very important to how they build their draft from here.
One of the things that Fnatic could do, if they don't want to go Jaina, is actually think about an Abathur here, since an Abathur would also force a reaction out of Alternate Fancy. Alternate Fancy could then pick Jaina, which is pretty tricky if you go up against it, but with Abathur, you have a you just force them to ban out certain heroes. What to think about that? But Fnatic is not playing that card. They've been playing a lot of Abathur in the past, but in this case, they play the traditional pick, and that is Jaina.
Yeah, and they still have the potential to pick it later. Abathur cloned onto a Jaina is incredibly deadly, and like we said before, the Illidan is still open, as are other melee assassins, and Rhaegar plus Abathur and a melee assassin is devastatingly powerful.
Alternate Fancy have to pick their own healer now. If they don't do that, Fnatic is just going to ban healer out and then will force them into Brightwing Lily, and that's something that you usually don't want to play. So we're going to see Malfurion for them, which is like the most likely choice. Besides that, they have an opportunity to either ban Abathur or take Abathur themselves, because going up against a double Jaina, as you already said, is just brutal. So one of the two is going to happen here, a potential ban. The problem that you oftentimes have in this case now for Alternate Fancy is that a clone on Zagara doesn't really help you too much, and if you pick the Abathur like this, early Fnatic could try and counterplay, ban out a good potential copy for Abathur, and really force the hand of Alternate Fancy. So a ban, I feel, is a bit more likely than a pick.
Yeah, I would agree. Like, the Abathur is incredibly strong just from the split XP, but who do you copy? And if you don't copy, are you comfortable with the monstrosity that you can split, push down, and maybe on that level 20 go for that surprise monstrosity into the backline? But you have to be comfortable with it, that you can get it stacked up, you can keep it split pushing, and your team can deal with the fight a hero down.
Yeah, so if you for a moment assume that they're not going to take an Abathur to actually ban him out, the pick that they go for now, they have several choices. They could either decide to go into another damage dealer, or, and there it is, they can take a tank, a warrior, and in this case it is Muradin, which they actually really like. They were known for the team that played for the longest time Jaina, Tyrande, and Muradin, an option that they don't have now since Jaina is already picked, but they could still think about a Tyrande here if they wanted to try to just burst somebody down.
Yeah, it's a really powerful gank squad, one of the classics as well from the roaming gank squads, and is very hard to deal with in a fight. And of course the Muradin also very effective in the fact that they are picking it against a team who already have the Rhaegar, and we've been talking about the potential for Fnatic to pick melee assassins.
And in this case, Fnatic could think about a Tyrande ban even. If they're really afraid of this Muradin Tyrande gank squad, they could ban Tyrande out, or they could just simply say, alright, even if you pick her, we're not too worried about it. We might lose a hero or two in the early game, but we can still play around this. If they think that, and they don't, they actually picked Tyrande. They had other options. They could have gone for damage in this case. Abathur immediately banned out, by the way. Like, they don't even think about this. So as expected, the Abathur ban coming in instantly. You don't want to go up against the double Jaina, especially against Fnatic, who could pick a melee assassin on top of that. And then suddenly Abathur has two great copies. And he's probably just going to be in a lot of trouble because he's like, okay, do I pick the Jaina copy or do I pick the Illidan copy? That would have been his biggest problem in the game. So that is a very unsurprising ban on the side of Alternate Fancy.
Now is the question, do Fnatic still pick the Illidan with this comp? They're going to start off with the Anubarak. Muradin already taken by Alternate Fancy. Anubarak incredibly powerful, and web blasting at that Malfurion when he's using that Tranquility is so much heal that you are missing.
Yeah, and that's the problem in general now. You can really, in this case, go also for an Illidan, just simply say, okay, with Illidan we have everything that we need in terms of like melee assassins. They don't have a hero for LoL yet, so I feel a melee assassin for them would really be a good choice. But the thing is, they also have to not go for him immediately right now. Alternate Fancy, their lineup is a bit forced at this point, I feel. They have still a lot of strong options. Keep in mind that there's a Kel'Thas still on the board that the teams could take. We could see these double warrior compositions that we've seen a lot. Even a hero like Leoric, which has been prioritized in the last few weeks, like in every single tournament, namely, of course, Road to BlizzCon, hasn't even been touched upon today.
Yeah, he got banned in the last game, but still not been picked.
Nothing.
Yeah, there's the potential for both teams to go with him, though. Either one could run a double tank lineup with what they have and just have Leoric wade through the enemy forces. But I'd say if either one was going to pick Leoric, I'd say maybe Fnatic it would go a bit better with.
Fnatic really loves to do that. The thing is, though, that oftentimes they would have to switch positions again a bit. Oftentimes when we are seeing this, then they're having LoL take one of the warriors. In this case, he would be the Illidan player, so they have to shift one of the others around. They have a lot of flex players, so that wouldn't really be a big issue for them. They are picking an early Illidan, an early Tyrael, but that kind of screams Illidan last pick to me.
Yeah, it absolutely does. And the question is, will Fancy react to this? Because this Tyrael could also mean another range damage dealer like a Falstad, but you have to remember that the Illidan is an option.
LoL is currently yelling into that TeamSpeak, give me that Illidan. And in this case, what you said is like perfectly true. Like Fnatic with this pick made an incredible choice because an Illidan is amazing with this, but they could also just simply go into another damage dealer. If they pick Falstad, there's the problem of the potential judgment into Hinterland Blast. They don't even have to go for him. They can pick a Vala, for example, as well. So they are suddenly so flexible with this setup that it's really difficult for Alternate Fancy to react to it if they don't draft anti-Illidan heroes. Fnatic is just simply going to switch into a range damage dealer and going to say like, yeah, what do you have to say about this? So for Alternate Fancy, this is not an easy choice.
Yeah, so Fancy basically have to work out who has both Spell Shield and a way to deal with Illidan in this situation, because they need to work out either which one they think Fnatic are going for, commit to one of them, or they have to try and cater for both.
Yeah, at this point, I mean, a hero that we could definitely see is them saying, okay, we need to add some damage first. Let's not really think about what they could do. Let's try to draft a lineup that is as strong for us as it possibly can be. The choice, of course, it has first to be double tank, yes or no. Do we use that Johanna, for example, which would make a great addition for Muradin? If they do that, they also have the Shield Glare, which can help them against an Illidan, and they go for that damage first, which is in this case an Azebo over the potential Kel'Thas that we could have seen here.
Yeah, Kel'Thas or Vala maybe could have been very good in the situation. Picking the Azebo is a lot of potential damage onto an Illidan. Due to the fact that it is ability damage and pre-level 13, Illidan is not going to have much protection against that. But it's another immovable damage dealer who's going to take a lot of burst damage from whatever Fnatic pick here. And Johanna finishes off the Fancy lineup.
As expected and suggested, it is the double warrior setup for Alternate Fancy, and they have that Johanna that I just talked about. For Fnatic now, of course, they can really still use this as an Illidan setup. If they have the protection, but they decide to go into the double mages, it is kind of a smart move. They could have played the Illidan. They played Illidan in like crazy situations against opponents, but it's definitely the safer pick to go into a Kel'Thas because you have quite some counterplay against Illidan here. The safer option for sure is to go into Kel'Thas. Now they have not only Jaina, but also Kel'Thas, so it's basically the little Song of Ice and Fire that we have there, the Fire Mage and the Ice Mage, and they can do so much work. If you have also that Sanctification that we could see, in this case, Judgment, in my opinion, doesn't really make the most sense, so they have a lot of option of what they can do here, but it's probably just going to be those two mages from the backline, dishing out all the damage. Sanctification, I expect on Tyrael, and just trying to keep everybody as safe as possible.
Yeah, the Judgment would be lovely, but Sank is very nice, especially if you are running that Kael'thas, who is wanting to get to the late game and would rather do it alive.
Yeah. Another thing, of course, like the lineup that we are seeing here also makes a lot of sense with the map. We've been talking about this before we went into the draft, but if you play on Cursed Hollow, you want to have that ranged poke. And even on level 13, Kael'thas with the Flamethrower is able to just interrupt those tribute challenges. We also see the Jaina in a very similar position. So there's a lot of potential for them to really just try and screw a bit with the opponent in a case like this. But again, we also have a very solid setup here for Alternate Fancy, who with the Zagara have a strong solo laner with a lot of control, especially the creep tumors are going to be very annoying to deal with. Just that vision on the map, and especially when we're talking about the two bosses on the map, vision is everything.
Yeah, and that is what Zagara is known for. Going to be a very tight game. We can see Alternate Fancy looking very, very serious.
And the game is starting here in Cursed Hollow with to the left side. We have Alternate Fancy down one game in the best of 3 series. They play Nazebo on Darkmorg, Devis with Johanna, Krolo on Malfurion. We're having Crosby on Zagara and Blumby on Murden for the team. To the right side of the map it is at this point though. Rumena on Rega. We have for Fnatic Lowell on Tyrael, Vubi on Jaina, Kesel on Kael'thas and Breeze on Nuburak. This is game number 2 at the WCA Pro Qualifier here from Europe. I'm Caldo and with me is Techa. We're going to bring you the coverage here for the match on Cursed Hollow.
Yeah, and having a look at some of the early talents, we can see Devis really not liking barrels and at least checking at that bush to see if there's anyone there. But in the early talents, Reverberation, of course, taken on at the Muradin just for that protection against the Tyrael and the Anubarak when they do engage in. Colossal Totem on the Rhaegar, Purge Evil on the Tyrael. There's currently no talent pick. There it is, the Deep Chill, the increased slow by the Jaina. Not
going for the extra range on the Frostball on the Icelands here. Very cool to see that. It's again, this is like the most common build that we have for the hero, but the Icelands has been taken several times here on this map just because you have that extra interrupt range on your Jaina. In this case, we still don't see a talent for Crosby, so let's see what he's gonna do here. We even saw a few teams in the past going for Demolitionist on the map, trying to just zerk down a lane early on and then get the talent lead. For Malfurion, it's the extra damage against Creeps Mercenaries, and there it is, Demolitionist taken by Zagara.
And with that Demolitionist, they are moving into the mid lane with their Johanna, and are going to try and get some pressure down to take it out as much as possible. It's only Wobby defending here. Kessel, though, rotating up with the Rhaegar to defend as much as possible. And Crosby and Darkmorg just leaving again, and are going to go push another lane. They're just trying to avoid any defense.
For them, it was a bit unfortunate. They were trying to get into the lane with a bit of luck where there's only one hero defending against them, but they hit the tri-lane of their opponent. So right now we have Crosby at the top trying to drain as much ammunition from the towers as possible with the Demolitionist. One of the main reasons why we saw this talent pick so late is that they are trying to hide their strategy, but they were attempting to zerk down, but the rotations from Fnatic are always there to meet that onslaught.
Yeah, Fnatic just making sure they have at least 2, sometimes 3 in this case. It was almost 4, but Jada turned around and went back to the, well, back to the bush, but eventually back to the mid lane to make sure they get the XP.
It's so important now to keep ahead in every single aspect when it comes to experience. You need to soak those waves. The only time when Whoopi can really leave that mid lane is when he's trying to gank up on another lane when your own creep wave has already been taken out, and that's exactly what they're trying to do here. As already mentioned before, we are seeing more of a damage build for Tyrael here, going for the extra damage against heroes, as now the level 4 talents come into play.
While this is happening though, we do see that Zagara and Nazebo have sort of timed out their split pushing days and have instead just taken the easy camp. Fnatic responding in kind, just in time for the tribute in fact.
A very interesting talent is the level 4 talent on Malfurion. There have been huge discussions between players about this talent. Rampant growth taken for him with the increased initial heal of regrowth by 20%. Sounds great, but if you do the math, you will realize that it's very little hit points that you actually gain with it. And there have been massive discussions between teams if that talent is worth picking at all. But Alternate Fancy decides that they want to have this against the potential burst on a Jaina and also a Kael'thas. They decide that it is worth it to go for it.
Yeah, and Alternate Fancy able to pick up that tribute, and now Darkmorg getting a bit of harass on it to Fnatic there, but nothing too much. We also see talent-wise from the Tyrael, the Retribution coming back in, as opposed to the Amplified Healing. We do see quite a lot these days.
Yeah, we have in this case him. He doesn't really have any kind of problems with health, since he also has a second hero right next to him. We have for Nuburak a build that centers a lot around him getting those regeneration globes again, so that he can increase his own life regeneration, going for Regeneration Master therefore. And of course, Feral Heart for Rhaegar. Feral Heart over Shadow Wolf, which you only see if you go on the level 1 mana reduction on your chain heal. But that's what happening here. Rotation up at the top lane. Once again with Breeze already moving in, but down at the bot lane, a rotation with Lowland moving to take down Malfurion.
And we're going to see the Johanna move down to the bot lane to try and defend against this. And that does leave the mid lane exposed. And Jaina, using the advantage they have, they don't want to push this lane, they instead want to get an XP advantage. She will head to the mid lane to try and out-farm the enemies, but Nazeebo will easily be down there to defend.
Level 7 Talons hit with the Tribute on the map. And again, no big surprises, at least for now. The Bed of Barbs for Nubarak. Having up out the top lane, going up against Blumby, who went into the double stun. And double red, double battle momentum also now taken. Pretty standard talents at this point for the teams, but the rotation towards the Tribute. We already have Darkmoth and Alternate Fancy with the first Tribute in the game. This would make number 2.
Well, be having to back up here as he's completely outnumbered, but he does have allies on the way to him to help protect him. Level 7, like you said, available for both teams. And neither one seems to be looking for any huge advantage. They're both trying to just out-XP each other, but with Fancy having 2 Tributes, they are at a significant advantage in the coming phases.
Yeah, it seems like Fnatic really wants to wait for level 10 before they really engage. They figure that their own heroics are just going to give them an advantage in those fights, and that's what they're currently waiting for. We have a lot of zoning and AoE potential, especially on Kel'Thas with that Phoenix on level 10, and Jaina can supply the Water Elemental for additional control in the fights, and that is apparently what Fnatic is really aiming for. The Tribute, the next one, is one that they have to fight for. If they don't, they're going to be cursed by the Tributes.
Yeah, and I'd like to point out, just this Demolitionist from Crosby has not actually seen too much play due to just incredible rotations and defense by Fnatic.
So far, it was a very useless talent, but they're going to try and bring it to fruition a bit later in the game. Lowell jumps back in the last second. That gank did not hit him, but this is an opportunity for them now to take a few towers and maybe hit level 10 faster. The Tribute is already on the map, and Fnatic is fighting for it, but that means that they can't react to this push at the bot lane.
Yeah, they're going to be able to get this Tribute. Blumby, though, delaying it, and that's what they need to do. Delay this Tribute as much as possible while the bot lane does push, but Blumby getting a bit trapped out here. Is Dwarf Toss available? No, it isn't, and down he goes. Ragdolls into the distance, but the bot 4 under pressure, and that will be taken down. So a Tribute for a bot there. Yeah,
and Kessel even aborted his Tribute channel to go for the kill against Muradin, so they take it late, but we have level 10s now hitting for Alternate Fancy. They get again the Blessed Shield avatar, more Tranquility, and Gary the Gargantuan, with now even Judgment coming in, not Sanctification, even though they don't have a strong follow-up with another hero jumping in. They can use, of course, the Nubarak to a certain extent, but they go straight for Phoenix, and Booby is in trouble and goes down as Condemn is being used on Johanna.
As Astral Healing was cancelled mid-animation, so it will go on a very short cooldown and will be available for Rhaegar quite soon. But in the meantime, Ultimate Fancy with that kill are able to push this mid lane really hard, and with the Tribute spawning soon, they're able to just keep the pressure on, and it's going to be difficult for Fnatic to fight in the next one.
Yeah, Fnatic has to be careful here. I mean, we have level 10s for both of the teams now. So they have 2 kills against 1. We're currently seeing Alternate Fancy moving back. The Tribute is up at the top. They're in a really good position for Alternate Fancy, leaning towards their side of the map. But Fnatic is already rotating. They are on the same level, and they still have all their cooldowns ready, except for the Water Elemental. But we see Tranquility already out, so Alternate Fancy will have a very tough time going for this one.
Yeah, Ultimate Fancy looking for their opportunity here. For now, just denying this Tribute for as long as possible. Kessel looking for it though, but he's trying to roll in, does not land a Stormbolt, and that is the second Tribute for Fnatic. And now it is 2-2, and Fnatic can take a bit of pressure off and know that the next fight, Alternate Fancy has to try equally as hard.
So far, Fnatic's strategy really working hard for them. They made sure that they get the level 10s, then they start to take Tributes. They're in a very good position with the talents that they have here. So they are currently scaling into the game quite well. Up at the top, Breeze is still pushing in the wall, but we have a rotation in the mid lane with 5 players dropping another port. Even the Gargantuan being used for this one, not afraid to use the heroics, and therefore a slightly inexperienced again for Alternate Fancy.
Yeah, this will get them to their level 13 quite quickly, so they may even have that for the next Tribute fight, where Fnatic doesn't, and there is the Tribute. but it doesn't look like Fancy will hit that level 13 in time. Tribute spawning a little bit too early.
Yeah, but the Tribute's still a decent position for them. They have their position already and can now move in. Here comes Fnatic though with a stun. They are trying to move in. Lowell already there. Flame Strike hitting nobody. Crawler in the backline is already channeling the Tribute. Nobody's stunning him out. Lowell moves in, gets it in. Oh my god, Breeze is barely healed, but then the Judgment up against Zagara and she is dead. Web Blast has gone down as well. Suddenly Bloomby trying to get away on his Avatar form on Mirrodin, but the Alternate Fancy is in so much trouble as Johanna now dies too.
Incredible diving coming in here from Fnatic. They're going to chase it. They get Bloomby with the Blizzard. The knock-up onto the Deceivo, and he gets taken down. The boss was aggroed on the way out by Malfurion, just in case for the chase. But Fnatic will get this, and it will be a curse for them, and they hit level 13 first.
And they can, if they want to, even go for boss now, but they move on to the fort first. They have that Siege Giant camp dishing out a lot of damage. Great position for Fnatic to be in. The level 13 talents are, of course, super strong here. At this point, already looking at the damage, they're having the Zero with 11,000, 14,000 on Jaina. Here comes the rescue squad, basically, for Alternate, trying to move back and also, of course, attempting to get the level 13 talents that they can finally face Fnatic in a fight once more.
It is 9 minutes into the game and Kael'thas has maximum gathering power stacks. When he gets that level 16, any Tribute is basically going to be Fnatic's unless Alternate pull out some incredible dodges.
Yeah, and currently when you look at the third teams, I mean, we have extra damage on Anubarak already with the Burning Rage that he uses, the improved Ice Block for Jaina. Kael'thas has now the range that he desperately needs, Imposing Will for Tyrael, and the Healing Surge on Rhaegar's strong talents, and just a lot of preparation talents for level 16. Whereas on the side of Alternate Fancy, it's very passive what we see here with the double Spell Shield. If you go up against Jaina Kael'thas, like, that is to be expected.
Yeah, double Spell Shield and a talent which I think is fairly essential when going up against Kael'thas, the Life Seed from the Malfurion. It's just free heals, and against Kael'thas, any extra healing is good. If anyone gets caught,
the problem that you have with Life Seed is though you give up your own Ice Block, and against a Judgment material, that is the problem. Boss taken at the bot lane. Breeze is already safe there, saying hello, and is Anubarak. The rest of the team is rotating over. He's gonna go for it. He's waiting. He's charging in. They're trying to fight for it. The Maw is there though, and the boss is channeled by Alternate.
Darkbog able to just sit on the edge there. Webblast immediately use Crosby. Gets taken down by the Living Bomb from Kael'thas. Crowley taking a lot of damage. There's the Judgment immediately onto Nazeebo, and he gets taken down. Devin focused is next. Bloomby dwarfs himself over the wall, but Breeze is not done. Fight Malfurion.
They go for Malfurion once again. Tyrael is there trying to help out. The root attempt not successful, and bam! Malfurion dead again. 4 heroes taken out. The Maw used to at least get the boss. They just maured Anubarak. The boss moving down the bot lane now, pressuring the key, but probably not going to be able to get it. And that was just a beautiful fight for Fnatic. With the Maw not in play for the actual team fight, that was a situation where basically Alternate Fancy couldn't section anybody off from the team.
Yeah, they tried the best they could. They were able to, like you said, got them more onto Anubarak, which got them the boss, but then the rest of Fnatic showed up, and, well, Kael'thas is level 16 with 5 stacks, and we saw exactly what that did. Level 16s are available for Fnatic. We have the Holy Ground as well, which is going to make it even harder for anyone from Fancy to escape.
One of the things that Fancy achieved though is they were able to save the keep. The keep is on 1/4 HP, but still, they were able to save it at least for now. The boss at the bot lane is going to be deep push, no real damage on the keep yet for Fnatic, but that was a very important defense that we saw from Alternate Fancy. So nothing lost just yet. They are behind 1.5 levels, but the level 16 is going to hit soon, and then they can definitely take team fights.
Yeah, and they will hit level 16 before this Tribute does spawn. Or it's going to be, yeah, they were going to be able to get that, but it doesn't look like they want to fight for it. They're just going to leave this one over to Fnatic, who are currently on 0, so it's a full reset for them.
They don't have to go for the Tribute, and why would they? I mean, they would have to rush things. There's a setup already on the map for their opponent. They just wait for their own 16, and there it is. The Leaping Spiders. We have a Hardened Focus here as well, which is, of course, super important. It is the double Hunter kill. That is great talent for Zagara, and will give her a lot of damage. Muradin, I mean, how do you drop him? Spell Shield on level 13 and Stone Form on level 16. He is basically unkillable.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they need, is that they need the damage to basically only go on Muradin for that to be of any use to them. And we're seeing the Imposing Presence on the Johanna, which is going to be good once again. We already talked about the huge damage that the 2 warriors are putting out at the front. And they're going to protect it. They are there just to distract. But as long as their movement speed is slowed by imposing presence, then, sorry, just their attack speed is slowed by imposing presence, they're less of a threat to the people in the backline.
Yeah, the thing is though that we are having in this case also Jaina and Kel'Thas dishing out most of the damage with spells. So the imposing presence, I would have expected this more with either a melee assassin or them running an auto attack damage dealer, which is not happening. Apparently HotS Fancy is saying, okay, we do not need that extra damage out of the blessed hammer that you oftentimes see on level 16. Imposing presence is going to help them against the tanks, but let's see if Breeze and Lola are going to do them the favor to brawl with the tanks, or if they're just going to try once again to jump into the backline.
Yeah, and that's what they should be doing, which is why I agree with you about this imposing presence. Flame Strike does not land onto Devis. Tribute is easily in favor of Fnatic here. It's going to take Alternate a bit of a dive here to try and do it. Tyrael had the ult to try and separate out a couple members with his Holy Ground there, but does not decide to dive in.
There's just no option for Alternate. They cannot move in against this. It's a very uncomfortable position that they are in. It was good zoning that we saw from Fnatic. They shield the Tribute, they take the second one, and now both of the teams will have to go for the next one. It's Tribute number 5 in this case, so we're gonna see the third one, we're gonna see the curse again. And still, both of the teams with 3 keeps available, and it's only a level lead that we see for Fnatic. Once those level 20 hits, that doesn't gonna mean anything anymore. So Fnatic needs to try and exploit the advantage while it lasts.
Yeah, and Ultimate Fancy need to not get caught out like Blumby nearly was there. The Holy Ground, however, pushing him towards his team as opposed to Drew away from it. Fnatic just throwing down the Phoenix here to control this Watchtower as they do one in Flame Strike. Landing onto Blumby, looks like they may go into it. Water Elemental used, the root goes down, knockout, Holy Ground, and he's still alive.
He's still alive and finally dies after what seems like ages. They jump into the backline, they're trying to go for Nisimo. He uses sprint and gets away, repositioning himself. Gary even living through this battle, but Zagara at the top is getting jumped again and without any support. She goes on 12 kills for Fnatic and only 1 for Alternate Fancy. Fnatic is dominating now.
Yeah, and just in time for the Tribute to spawn. Fnatic will push in this mid lane. Wubby will grab the Tribute. And Fnatic looking so strong with the boss in top just spawns. They can go for that if they can't get much done in the mid lane, but they should easily get this keep.
Yeah, they should get the keep at least. Like 1 keep in the mid is now going to fall. We're even seeing a few of the players that have been bothering about that, but already moving in up to the one at the top. They will get 2 keeps. Now Muradin in another 2 seconds is going to be back. Actually, Wubby and Kesel go for the Siege Giants first, trying to push in with these. They want to hit level 20. If they can hit that while the curse still lasts, then Alternate Fancy might even lose the game here.
Yeah, and that's what they want to try and do. We're going to see Fnatic going in. Devis getting body blocked here. Web Blast has been used onto the backline there, and Darkmoth will free that, but we're seeing the Dragon Dropper. Ancestral will keep him alive for now, though. The Maw does get Jada.
A double bot of the Storm picked on level 20. The rest of the units not going for it yet. They jump and the cleanse, but Malfurion dies anyways. Here comes the Hardened Shield, and Ubera keeping himself alive. Another one on Tyrael. They get the kill against Zagara, and currently Fnatic on a killing spree. They move in against Devis. It's a 4th kill for them. Only Blumby the Dwarf is alive, but it does not matter. They go for a core, trying to end the game and win the series.
Yeah, they have 2 Siege Giants with them. There's the GG's called by Alternate Fancy. And Fnatic looking on form, take the game and the series.
Really well played by Fnatic. It's a 2-0 victory in the first best of 3 played here at the WCA Europe. Great play by them. Haunted Mines, especially at the beginning, a bit closer, but now here on the Cursed Hollow, the second map, they were just in a dominant shape, and they didn't leave Alternate Fancy a chance. They started to take a lead, and with 12 or 13 kills to 1, they were able to clean 16 kills actually even at the end of the match. Wow.
Wow, and that is pretty impressive. We could also see on the side of Alternate Fancy 25,000 healing on the Malfurion, just not enough. And we saw so many times people getting caught out by that Kael'thas, and it only takes 1 Flame Strike with 5 stacks to put you in an incredibly bad position.
Zagara was in a really bad spot in this game. There was just no Divine Shield to help her out, no Burst Heal. It was only Malfurion. Malfurion himself had to take the risk with a Life Seed on level 13. So there was very little that these two could do. They were the primary targets for Fnatic, and it was really tricky for Alternate Fancy to keep them alive. If you go, on the other hand, for an Ice Block on Malfurion, you don't have that heal. You've been talking about it. Yeah. That area damage that you see from Jaina and Kel'Thas, and how do you deal with that?
It's one of the most important decisions you have to make as a Malfurion, and sometimes it can't work out. Like, yes, he healed quite a lot, not as much as Rhaegar. Like, Rhaegar, Maynard here, on point with his heals, but you need to keep your team alive. But the question is, how can you keep your team alive if you're dead? You have to make that decision, and it's so hard.
And of course, especially Zagara here, one of the squishy is in so much trouble. She doesn't have an escape. She gets it late on in the game. She can use the more as a disengage, but that's about it. But of course, guys, we're going to have an interview with the winner here. So let's throw it up on the stage and see what the team has to say about the victory.
Thank you, gentlemen. Congratulations, Fnatic, on that 2-0 victory. Incredible team synergy. I'm joined by Lowell, the team representative from Fnatic. Lowell, was it just finding the right person that you wanted to initiate the team fight, or was it just whoever you could find and then go in for the kill?
We just punished people out of position. We didn't go for anyone specific, like they overextend, we kill.
Now, one of your teammates was yelling targets consistently throughout those matches. How do you deal with that in the microphone? Because he was getting so intense, I could hear them from the back of the room.
It's great. Like, I had some doubts in some fights, especially first game, and just the shouting, you know, it keeps you in, and like we got at least 3 kills just because of that. I don't know. I think it's great. I'm really happy. So
they got the energy. You also have 2 former members of Na'Vi, Breeze and Wubby, and Na'Vi was in the crowd watching this match. Do you have a message you would like to send to Na'Vi?
See you Friday.
All right, simple enough. Lowell, anything else you'd like to say to your fans that were able to watch this incredible 2-0?
Well, thanks a lot for cheering, and yeah, we expect a lot better from ourselves, and it will come.
It will come. All right, thank you, Lowell. Thank you, Fnatic. Congratulations once again on your victory. That does it for day 1 of the WCA 2015 European Pro Qualifiers. We're going to start back up tomorrow morning here live at Gamescom 2015. Thanks for joining us. On behalf of everybody here at WCA, good night and good game.